Hey, CEOs. Today we have Miss Erica Savage. So thank you for joining me, Erica. I'm really excited for the ladies to hear a lot about what you do and why you do it. So first, tell me, who is Miss Erica Savage?
Well, first and foremost, Christy, I want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Global Power Tour. Don't know if anybody has connected with Christy either through business services or on Instagram, getting all of the business tidbits, but definitely do that. Um, I am a former political executive, managed international campaigns. I worked for the federal government for a number of years, so a strong financial analysis background there. And I start out with that to say that the formula for success, which would be go to school, go to military, from that point forward, put your eyes on a target, lock in on that target, knock it out. That was the way I was raised, and I did that. Did that successfully up until 2021, and that's what brought me to the pivot of my newest career endeavor.
Tell me what happened in 2021.
So in 2021, if we can all remember, Christy, we were about a year into COVID. There was a huge general election, huge senatorial election. I mean, we were as a country very busy. And as a political executive, our firm was knee deep in all of those COVID disinformation campaigns. We were doing a lot of incredible work, which meant something that your audience can relate to is that there were many irons on the pot in the fire, and as I would say, kind of like cooking with 7 pots and only 3 working burners. That was the work that we were doing, and so I'm bringing all of that. I'm laying that foundation, CEOs, not to brag, but to also really kind of let you all see what that kind of life was like up into March 2021, doing all the things, traveling for work specifically. And I was driving, and an 18-wheel truck hit me twice from behind on
What?
purpose, on purpose. um, and that rendered me with a lot of injuries, one being a traumatic brain injury. And that injury is critical because I use my brain. We all use our brains for decision making, but especially in the career field that I was in, it was pretty important that I be able to make decisions and be able to decipher through a lot of information. So that injury shifted, Christy, the course of what I formerly knew as Erica Savage in the business of politics, international politics, and media. It really shifted my life and shifted me to a place of healing as a now polytrauma patient.
So after this traumatic experience, what happened next?
Well, the next thing that happened was I was still, and that's STILL, CEOs, with everything that I just shared with you all. We all know how about the pace of work is business.
Yeah.
And so that had been the first time in a very long time, Christy, that I was not able to do anything. I wasn't able to walk, had problems with my speech, wasn't able to tolerate having a lot of people around me. The atmosphere was totally different. So the first course of business was really to connect myself back with my body, understand everything that had happened to me, and all of the changes and adaptations that were necessary in order for me to have some level of functionality. So that is a lot in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I think that as CEOs, as people that are entrepreneurs, we're running businesses, perhaps we have family and other people that we care for, a lot of what it takes for us to function as beings literally is not something that always is meticulously thought about. So I actually had a good year plus to actually think about the functionality of my body, that taking for granted the ability that you and I have to be able to converse, have either light conversations, have conversations that are more in depth. Those were things that I had to relearn, so to speak, and adapt into again. So I think that it, for where I have shifted in my business, it is the juxtaposition of what I used to be and what I am now. And so the services that I offer, I'm saying that I don't know what it is to be a Christy Muhammad, but I do understand with respect the pressures that it takes to make a Christy Muhammad do Women's CEO Project. And so here I am available for support. And that support looks like the resource of being able to understand how your breath empowers all of your body to include your immune system, to understand focus for a Christy Muhammad running 25 global power tours looks different than someone else. So really individualizing the hustle and grind so that CEOs such as you, people that we're all connected to, are able to perform at the level that they choose to perform at, but do it in an effective way that keeps them reminded that this is Christy, not a machine that's producing the product that is before you. So that's why it took a little bit to give you background and to show you, this is what I do now, because I'm very primed to provide, to execute the way that I execute.
Let's talk about that more. I remember when we were together in Italy, at one point you told me to just breathe. And, I've been told that before. And every time, it's been said to me, or I watch something that's like, pay attention to your breath. My breaths were shallow. And I realized I wasn't breathing deeply because so tell me what you think, because right now we're in the middle of, I feel like we were in hustle culture for a long time. Then we went to soft life, self-care. However, we can't go 100% into soft life, self-care because money has to be made to live. And it's very difficult to be 100% in soft life and also have your bills and your credit together. So hate that. Credit gonna be jacked up. So what do you tell a woman, and she comes to you and she's like, I don't know how to, I want to be a CEO. I want to be a boss. I want to be, my bills say I need to be, be a boss, but I also want to live. I don't want to die early from stress or from whatever. What do you say to that woman? How do you help her?
Sure. So let me back up and let's talk about Italy. Italy was a vibe. Honey, make sure you get on Chrissy's list for whatever she is doing. It is all things luxury, honey. It was definitely a vibe. So shout out to you. I will say back to you, and this is going to be very specific for Black women, that Black women breathe differently. We hold our breath. And in holding our breath, right, a lot of times we are able to pinpoint something that's not seen right. Something seems to be a little bit off. Maybe somebody's feeling a little bit anxious, not able to focus as much. And please always make sure that you connect with your practitioner to ensure that everything is well with you. What I also find out is that what is happening a lot of times is that these women are not breathing. And so what I do is I take my particular client or group through a specific exercise that actually does work, because what we are doing is we are sending a signal back to our brain, back to our immune system, back to our response system in our body to say that there are so many things. There might be 7 pots on the stove with only 3 working burners. However, for me to pay attention to whatever it is I need to pay attention to in things category, I have to acknowledge the being first. So your question was, and then we're going to go back to the breath work, Christy, is that a person that wants to do all the things, not be 100% soft-like error, not wanting to always be moving, pumping, executive decision-making. So let's start with this. For any of that to happen, there has to be something alive. And what signals life when a baby comes out? What is everyone in the room looking for? They're listening for the breath. Yeah. That is the indication that the lights are on. That is an indication that there is a living, functioning being. And so what I express to clients is that whatever all of the things that you are, want to do, whatever it is that you continue to do, we also have to make a choice. The choice that I made very simply is this, that before I get up to attend to anyone else in the morning, Christy, I attend to Erica first.
What does that look like?
That looks like the first maybe hour. Sometimes it could be a little bit longer than an hour. Sometimes it's a 20-minute. That means that the first hour of the day, I'm spending that, I'm checking in with myself. I'm not on social media. I'm not reaching for a phone or any device. Not yet necessarily talking to a partner if you have a partner. It means I'm checking in with
For an hour?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes for an hour. Because what that looks like for me is that the first thing that happens is that I'm conscious, I'm waking up, I'm aware that I'm up. There are fresh flowers that are beside the bed. So then that gets the aroma, that gets the nasal, gets the sensory of smell, that gets that excited. I look over and I see my prints, and then that the window is a bit open. So now I'm a little bit excited. So now I have my vision. It's allowing my sensories to wake up. I meditate, I pray. I have affirmations that come out like water. I spend time saying all of those. I stretch. I do yoga. And at that time, it might be 20 minutes. It could be an hour. But after that time, whatever it is that I am going to accomplish for that day might look like, Christy, 80% CEO, 20% softness.
Mm-hmm.
It might look like that. But the first part of my day, the first 20 minutes of my day, before I said hey to somebody else, before I thought about how somebody else may feel, before I did anything else, I was with me.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've given myself soft life because I live that. That's a part of what I do. So if I give a lot of my day to work, then that's fine. The next day may look very differently, but what I do is I work with my clients to first find out what is it that they want to achieve.
Okay.
And what it is that they want to achieve, perhaps they want to, like, Erica, I'm really, really tired all the time. Let's look at what's making that person tired. And sometimes when they write out everything that they do in one day, if anybody has listened to you on your live and they listen to what you do in one day, it was a little bit exhausting. And so after we looked at that day, what was more exhausting about her day was cardio. It was for her, the cardio that was zapping a lot of her energy. So all of that to say, what we must do, and what I encourage my clients to do, is number one, take your breath back, because that's something that, number one, like we said, is always an indicator of life. That's what the whole room is looking for when you come into the world. They're listening for that yell. They're listening for that breath. And then the second thing that I tell my clients to do is that whatever it is that makes you well, that makes you run, you do that, because everybody doesn't go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Some of my clients stay up late, but they do have a healthy balance of what their day looks like throughout the day. So catching your breath, doing your breath work, making sure that the first person that you are paying a tithe to is yourself, and then making the rest of your day harmonious. And I will say an example of that for anyone that's listening to this podcast would be for you, the harmony that you've created in your life, Chrissy, that says that Monday through Friday at 4:30 Houston, Texas time.
Done.
It's done.
4:30.
That's your harmony, right? I'm not doing this all day long. Like, I have a specific way that my schedule works. It works well for me. And you're able to execute at the level that you're able to execute at, knowing that this is where you stay and this is the end, creating healthy boundaries. But yeah, I always tell my clients to breathe and then to tie to yourself and make sure that day looks like a day that's going to work well for you, specifically your name, because none of us are blueprints for other people.
Exactly.
What we are is exactly, we have to find out what specifically works for us, what keeps us in our environment in harmony.
You know, talking to you when we had a chance to talk for a second, it's really interesting, people who can see people very quickly, like see them, you know? And you said something about holding your breath. And I was like, how does she know? I hold my breath multiple times throughout the day. How does this woman know this? We just had this conversation. But,
Yeah.
I feel like, I work with the majority Black women. And even though I'm working with them on the business side, I have learned in 13 years of working with us that it doesn't matter what you can be giving her the recipe to cook. Doesn't matter. If personal life is on her shoulders, it's on her shoulders, period. And you're going to have to kind of still figure out a way to navigate that. And what I found is that so many of us, we are extremely scared for some reason. Maybe you can tell me what you think about this. We're extremely scared to say no to family, friends, what things in our life that we allow people to put on our plate. And one of the things that I learned for myself specifically, that I try to tell women, because I don't want them to compare their schedule to mine, and my schedule looked differently after I got married. It's hard. It would have been hard for my schedule to look like that dating. But I had to say to people and to myself, in this season, my priorities are X. Because I know Kevin got this going on. I got this going on. I'm not going to have a lot in this season, in this quarter, in this whatever. But so many of the women I work with, Erica, they are petrified of letting someone down. We got mama need this, cousin need this, daddy need this, sister needs this, children need this, mate needs this. And we take all this stuff on our plate. What would you tell that woman, like if you were to like, here, do these 3 steps so that you do not have the burden of the guilt? I still feel guilty every now and then, but I'm getting better. But what would you tell that woman, like, you gonna die trying to help everybody?
Exactly what you just said.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, exactly what you just said. That's the truth. I have a talk that's called Burn the Cake. And it's about, because that is something that women actually have been conditioned to actually put that garment on, that self-sacrificing cape. And we've heard, having to set oneself on fire to keep other people warm. But specifically, when we think about Black women have never not been in the labor force, have always been in the labor force, So to get to a place where many, many centuries now, what we're saying is that, oh, you have options, you have a choice, wink, wink, because the expectation is still there. So what's usually required is exactly what you're talking about, Christy. It's really engaging in lifelong learning, number one, lifelong learning as it relates to our inner person. And I think that in terms of building, there's education, there's our financial backing, their investments, but emotional intelligence, EQ, being emotionally equipped for the world and for family, that's not something that is really a focus or something that's really thought about, because wherever we go, we take ourselves with us. So if there is a major deal on the table and there's a level of dysfunctionality, and I say dysfunctionality with all due respect, because we all have a level of that. When we think about how divine our bodies are, it's like, how in the world could somebody, like, this is happening in there's a dysfunction, so to speak, around that. I'm saying all of that to say that the things that we have to do is we have to be sure that we are well, so that when we hear something that maybe doesn't jive when we're in those rooms, we don't self-sabotage. So I say all of that to take it back to one of the important things that it is to invest in as a lifelong learner is also investing in understanding what stress does to our body. That inflammation. Oh my goodness.
Break it down, break it down, break it
When
down.
we start thinking about inflamed joints, when we start thinking about pain that almost seems like it appeared out of nowhere, a lot of times that stress, living in a body that constantly is in fight or flight mode, because if we've always been in the workforce, if we have isms that are always chasing us on every side, perhaps we're in a state where the quality of air is not good. Perhaps we're in a state, perhaps where the quality of water, depending on what side of town we in, isn't the best. There are all of these things that are always attacking, so to speak. So there has to be something in the body that not always recognizes that we're in a threat, but when it does, when something does come up and it doesn't feel right, that the body is able to say, Christy, you in a room with these people, they're about to write you a check. It ain't just, it'll be fine. I know you might feel like, well, what if, or what happened, or did they say that and they meant something against that? Just, it's not personal. Just take a breath. It's not a threat. Everything is fine. Just take a breath. Just remember where you are. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Say something, think about something that smells good. It's that kind of training, those type of tools that, because many of us grew up in a place where we were surviving, even if there was no type of government assistance, there was the threat of violence because of one of the isms. There was the, things were, there was always kind of looking around, making sure, okay, now we got to make sure we're not being followed, or they're not looking at us crazy because maybe the only people in here that look like us. All these those things work and wear on our body. Not having an understanding of those things as entrepreneurs and CEOs, that may seem like that belongs to specific groups or communities or people that are doing or performing at certain levels, but successful, healthy, intergenerational concerned, wealth people are also thinking about stress. They're also thinking about emotional intelligence. They're also thinking about what ways, when I do feel these things or see these things happening, can I make sure that this doesn't stay stored in my body, so that at a moment where I don't need to have a response comes up.
How long does this stress stay stored? I think I got third grade stress. It's stored.
Yeah.
That's the first time I remember worrying, was about third grade, worrying about something. Yeah. That's the first time I can recall. And I know what I was worried about. I remember.
And you were 8 years old.
Yes.
You were 8 years old. And so there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. The body absolutely keeps score. The body understands anniversaries. It understands because grief rewires the brain. So it understands when something is not, there's something missing, there's somebody missing. The body absolutely keeps score. So I think that for the work that I do, which is broad, but it's wellness lifestyle coaching, because I'm not just saying, well, all you have to do is just drink water and mind your business. No, it's a lot deeper than that, but we do want to do that.
What steps?
Exactly. We do want to do that. But I think, Christy, like, particularly for what you do, and I have to say, I have deep admiration for that, because my first memory as a child was running through, being in Africa, free, running with a whole bunch of children. That's my first memory as a child. And I say what you do is so important, because when you think about what you do, it is global. Mm-hmm. And so for people to be able to navigate, move, and be in another country, it does require not just having the money. You definitely want to have the money. It doesn't require just being able to book things. There's a level of emotional intelligence, wellness emotionally, so that when we are in areas where we're around people that we don't know, we don't emotionally take on people's stuff, things that actually could interfere with us doing well in business, having relationships with people. Remember, you told us about the tailor that you met, and he was able to do a suit for your husband. Think about it. Perhaps you would have gone in with maybe some preconceived notions, or something happened earlier in the day, and instead of saying, Christy, what happened earlier this day while I was in this country, it was not a reflection of the country. It was that person. I'm angry. I am angry. And I'm going to yell, scream, whatever I need to do. After that, I'm going to do some breath work. And whatever I'm going to do, after that, I'm going to move throughout my day, not carrying what happened early that day. Because what if there was $1 million, 15 million, 20, 30, $175 million check in between that? Mm-hmm. But because I'm not emotionally connected, I need to get rid of what just happened. I understood what happened. I'm letting that go. It can it can interrupt that. So the work that I do as a wellness lifestyle coach is not only teaching people to focus, it's not only teaching people to breathe, it's not only teaching people signature modalities, but also teaching them to be very aware of themselves, of who they are, of all things that surround their real estate, so that when you do engage, when you do have to make decisions, when you are in this space where there's nowhere to run, you're able to say, let me pull up this technique. I remember Erica taught me this technique when we were in Italy called 646. And what that technique does is it helps to still Christy, STILL, and it helps to make me present, and it helps to reset me. And it does that in 15 seconds. So having modality, so having something that helps people navigate, because Beyonce's, Jay-Z's, people who are at the levels that they are, the Oprahs, the Gayle Kings, they're at that level because they're getting the training that I'm giving and additional things, so that somebody says something stupid during a presser, it doesn't knock them off their whole game. They're able to answer that question quickly, move through it, have the meltdown after, but the emotional awareness, the being present in your body, the work that I do makes the people that I work with, the institutions, my corporate and individual clients, a much, much more well-adjusted person. And that's what we need as we go into these spaces of change and difference.
So you're part of the investment that a CEO needs to make, especially when they're trying to climb the ladder, because like you said, you'll have stuff that goes on in the morning, but you got to get on and function at a high level, and you can't bring all that stuff with you. People ask me all the time, like, I'll be getting on stage and be killing it, and they don't even know what happened the night before or that morning or what I'm managing or what information I got right before I got on the stage and got to manage once I get off stage. But I know this has to go a certain way. So it's going to go a certain way. I want to ask you something now. I don't know how to meditate. Look, I didn't listen to the videos. I didn't play the videos, everything, because I know I need to meditate. And, whenever I talk to other women about meditating, we're all just kind of like, now I know there are some women who know how to do it. I don't meet them. I meet the women who are like me, like, girl, please, quiet enough. And I sit still enough. Oh, my brain, I'm going to be thinking about like 100 different things will pop into my brain. I don't know how to quiet my brain. I need that skill. And I know you're going to walk the ladies on the stage through a couple exercises and everything. But if a woman is listening to this and she does not make it to Global Power Tour, I want you to tell me two things. Number one, tell me the type of signal, moment, something that happens in a woman's life where she's like, I need to call Erica and get this together. Tell me that. And then tell me, for a person who struggles a lot with meditating but knows they need to do it, what should they do?
Okay, so I'm going to start in reverse. I want to say thank you again for having me on your podcast, Christy, Global Power Tour. I will say that in reverse. So issues with meditating, listen, we are in a world where we don't have quiet anymore. There used to be a time where there wasn't a 24/7 news cycle. So number one, language. Be very, be very, 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 very gentle with yourself. Of course, it's hard to meditate. The world is very noisy. So that's number one, like be kind to yourself, like language, like be very kind to yourself. So there you go. Be kind to yourself. The world is very noisy, so it's very difficult. We also have televisions, we have these devices that light up, and they have rewired our brains as humans, so to speak. But what that person can do is number one, practice. That's what meditation is. It is a practice. The way that Christy Muhammad becomes the powerhouse that she is practice. These are things that you have been doing over and over again. You talk about being consistent. So what I would say is practice. And in that number one practice, just try what is your favorite place in the house? Identify your favorite place in the house, whatever that favorite place in the house is. So identify your favorite place in the house. Okay. What's something that makes you just, for some people, aromatherapy is really good. So candles, Christy, I know you love your Lux candles. So perhaps it is a candle that you set, something that really kind of like calms you down. So if there's a certain scent, and for some people it could be boiling. If there's a certain scent, get that scent going. So favorite place in the house, get your scent going. If you're comfortable in a chair, I advise people to start with a chair first if they're trying to start, or on the floor, but wherever you're comfortable. I don't usually recommend devices, but for a person that's starting out, take your phone out and set a timer for 1 minute, because 1 minute feels different in this day and age. Yeah, because the world is full of distractions. 1 minute feels probably like 10 seconds. So set it to 1 minute. And then that 1 minute, if you feel comfortable keeping your eyes open or closed, and just be quiet. There's nothing that a person needs to do with their hands. Just sit in the chair, sit on the floor, and be quiet. And when that timer goes off, let your body feel how that 1 minute feels. And just continue to do that again. Try to do that 1 minute 4 times in a day. Try to. If you're only able to do 2, cool. But try to do it 4 times. Try to do it 4 times. 4 times, that's 4 minutes.
I'm going to try today.
Okay. For 1 minute.
I know I need to meditate. And I know a lot of the women I work with, a lot of women that are going to listen to this, we need to figure out, because it's so much going on. And I saw this therapist post the other day, and she was like, it's normal to be frazzled. We got wars, we got this, we got that going on. And we're supposed to just keep it moving, keep working, and it's like, no, I'm stressed. I'm scared. I'm stressed. I don't know what else is going on. It is noisy, so it feels like it's getting harder and harder to just, as soon as it get quiet, the men gonna come and do the lawn. I mean, it's noise. It's always something. So I'm going to try this. And ladies who are listening to this and the men, let's try this exercise and report back to Miss Erica.
Please do.
If a woman, let's say she is not quite ready to work with you just yet, as far as one-on-one, tell me, number 1, 2 books that she should start with, and 2, what programs do you have if she wants to do like self-study or, work, on her own pace, what do you have for her?
Okay. So I will say the 2 books that have done well by me, 2 books to start with. Number 1 is, I love this book. It is called Platonic: How the Science of Attachment Can Help You Make and Keep Friends. It's by Dr. Maritza G. Franco. Erica, this is talking about relationships. Like, what are you talking about? But it is talking about how a lot of times the first thing we throw away when we get busy are relationships. And I always think about people as, well, the first people that we know are ourselves. So this is really, really, I think, a really good way. This book is a really good way to really navigate how we are engaging other people, because a lot of times we find out when we're not particularly focused or not particularly where we're trying to get things done, that some of the first things that actually fall by the wayside are friendships. So for me, I think it's a really good book because it really just kind of, again, makes us a little bit more introspective, not only of how we relate, but then how we're relating to other people. So I would say that that's a good book. And then How Exceptional Black Women Lead by my mentor, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver. She is, like you, Chrissy, a coach, but a powerhouse, internationally, nationally, in all eras. So yeah, those are two books that I would definitely recommend. That if they're not able to see me to do that, I do have a podcast, the Reframed Brain podcast. So there's wonderful free tools on that podcast that's available, and then they can listen to me every week on Sirius XM, where I guest co-host the show and I throw out nuggets there. So the reframebrain.com, that's the way that they can stay connected to me, listen to me on Saturdays on Sirius XM. But then also I do have some products that are coming out this year.
All right.
Chrissy, I told you some months ago that I had some things to send you. So you're going to be one of the first people to get that. And these are meditation products. These are journal pieces. These are these are products that are messaging back to whomever it is that's reading them, to make them understand that the value, they bring the value. Wherever they show up, the value goes up. And so we want to make sure that that vessel is as adjusted as it can be. So be looking out for those products coming through. In a way that people can stay connected on what's next is through the reframedbrain.com. So if people get on that mailing list, you'll know everything Erica's going to do before the rest of the function.
But we will definitely have all of your information below so people can get in contact with you. Now tell me this. Let's leave the ladies and the listeners with this. What is the best piece of advice that you want to leave the ladies with, whether they be corporate ladies, business ladies, but just high achieving ladies?
Money grows on trees. Life does not. Take care of you. Money grows on trees. Yeah, we can always get money. Money is currency. That's why it's called currency. It's always moving. It's always flowing. But life, our one body that we were given, that's not something that we're one of one. Literally. Take care of that.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and obviously learned some things myself, just like the last time we had a conversation about this. I cannot wait for you to get on the stage and talk to the ladies and just kind of...
Yeah.
Y'all, Erica is so calming. Always like this? Were you always calm?
Yes, I've gotten that. I've always been told like I'm a really, really sweet person, but after the brain injury, and I have to share this with your audience, Chrissy, I had 9 doctors. Okay, so now I'm down to 3 now, but I had 9 practitioners. Having that level of I'm so passionate about what I do as a wellness lifestyle coach because I literally watched my life get put back together. And I don't believe that. I definitely don't believe in coincidences. And I know God told death no. So if he allowed me to travel the world, to speak to media, to do all of the wonderful things that have done, to move to this space, I have something that folks need. And I'm hoping that for the Global Power Tour audience, people that are listening show up, that they get what it is, because we have to be well in order to do anything that we're doing. That's the well and wealth does absolutely cover us being well too. So that's why I always end with be well. Like I have seen my body come back to life, and I want for us to be well. I don't want us to have a catastrophe to be able to appreciate and build to a place where we're living better. So live well now, be well now.
Thank you so much, Miss Erica.